This episode is dedicated to U.S. Marine Corps and CIA agent Michael Spann. Operation Pathfinder Navigating PTSD, episode number 4, PTSDs Army Structure. In this episode, you'll receive additional intel on PTSD's squadrons and task units used to brutally attack you on a daily basis. Hello everyone, I'm your host Ben Williams, veteran and advocate. PTSD is the toughest enemy you'll ever face. This relentless adversary will destroy you from the inside out until it has taken you early in life. He is determined and relentless, but Operation Pathfinder's mission is to be a part of the solution when it comes to helping you with PTSD. A lot of the struggles you are facing are fear, uncertainty, and doubt. However, you'll hear from fellow veterans, survivors, and professionals who have been there and understand, and each episode will provide you with the intel of purpose and hope to keep you on the move. PTSD has 5 different squadrons and 5 different task units in its army against you. Not knowing which of these squadrons or task units you are fighting will create costly confusion, frustration, and anger. Listening to your team of experts and advisors is crucial at this point. Never ever assume you know everything about this coward known as PTSD. Your team will provide you with a battle plan based on which PTSD squadron or task unit you're fighting. PTSD's task units are more like the covert operators of PTSD. These task units are the infiltrators to your mind and are very good at what they do. Task Unit 1 usually will sneak in if you either witnessed or were a victim of a criminal attack. Physical violence against you or witnessed by you would be the weakening blow this ruthless task unit would use to breach your mind. Task Unit 2 is the most effective after a natural disaster. The lack of control you would have experienced is fear of death, not knowing any way to defend yourself, which weakens your mind and is the welcoming mat for Task Unit 2. Task Unit 3 most effectively when you experience survivor's guilt. These minions usually breach your perimeter after a traumatic event that involves one victim and one antagonist. Although more than one survivor is common, the fact that you survived and others did not is the guilt trigger that is devoured and is used by Task Unit 3. Task Unit 4 will use shame and guilt to its advantage. Perpetrators of an event are usually targeted by Task Unit 4. This is one of the toughest situations to come to grips with, forgiving yourself for an event and pushing forward. That guilt is the moment that Task Unit 4 blows a hole in your defenses and a large number of forces take up position in your mind, and that is your conscience beating the crap out of you. A task unit is something that should not be messed with. You know that you're being attacked because they do antagonize, they do cause you to doubt yourself, they cause you to fear, cause you to distance yourself. And Task Unit 5, the last of these 5, is most commonly found in first responders. The events often triggered by grief and despair are what Task Unit 5 relishes. This task unit is one of the lowest forms of the 5 task units. They love to sneak in when you're comforting or have been profoundly touched by a traumatic event. A task unit will weaken your fences and lower your fighting strength and block nearly all communication for help. And once a task unit has taken up camp in your head, they will signal to the squadron to move in. Now, these squadrons are consistent and are extremely proficient with their battle plans. Their battle plans are very, very effective, and once the task unit has done their part, the war for your life and your mind now begins. PTSD's Army is very resourceful and eager to destroy any chance of true happiness and enjoyment in your life. Your team is experienced and knows how to fight this low life. Rely on your experts, rely on your teammates, rely on your advisors in everything you do when you're fighting PTSD. The 5 squadrons of PTSD are the normal stress response, that's Alpha Squadron, acute stress disorder, Bravo Squadron, uncomplicated PTSD, Charlie Squadron, comorbid PTSD, Delta Squadron, and the dirtiest of them all, complex PTSD, Echo Squadron. Alpha Squadron typically attacks an adult after a single traumatic event. The members of the squadron will use intense bad memories, physical tension, isolation from family and friends, and numb your emotions. This is very common with first responders. Many responders perform a debriefing after a traumatic event or witnessing a traumatic event. These debriefings encourage open discussion about the traumatic event and are very helpful in obtaining recovery within a few weeks. Bravo Squadron utilizes persistence as its go-to weapon. This squadron uses re-experiencing of the traumatic event and numbs your emotion and will often use increased arousal to keep you prisoner. Increased arousal, hypervigilance, being on guard. Those are some of the examples of hyper or increased arousal. Charlie Squadron is often found behind your front lines. Substance abuse are unwittingly used by the warrior to fight off the squadron. And Charlie Squadron relishes in your misery and pushes hard against your feelings and convinces you to bury the pain deep inside you. You will need to speak with your therapist or doctor, aka intelligence officer, to find out how this wave of emotion can be pushed back. They know you. They know how to help you. Speak to your team, speak to your intelligence officers to figure out how to combat Charlie Squadron. Delta Squadron prefers to use panic, mental confusion, disassociation, insomnia, suspiciousness, and crashes your mind to the point where you are having a hard time managing yourself and relationships. It's very important to get on board with your team immediately and fight back. A concentrated effort from your intelligence officer, medic, sniper support, translators, logistics will all be required. Echo Squadron is also known as the disorder of extreme stress, and it's the toughest and the worst of all the squadrons. You will find a squadron when a warrior has been exposed to prolonged traumatic circumstances, especially during childhood. This squadron has no problems whatsoever utilizing antisocial behavior or dissociative disorder during the assault on your mind. Echo Squadron is very, very ruthless, but they are beatable. You will notice extreme situations of impulsiveness, aggression, eating disorder, substance abuse, rage, and sexually acting out. This will be a long battle as the enemy has breached your front lines and taken up camp. Your intelligence officers will bring in reinforcements and formulate a tactical plan to push back and win. As with Delta Squadron, this is an all-hands-on-deck situation, folks. Do not let this urgency create an emergency. You fight back, you push forward, and you keep on the move. This briefing was designed to shine a light on the levels of aggression by PTSD. This is an all-out assault against you, folks. Stand up and fight. Stand up and join the fight. Stand up and reach out to your brothers and sisters, and they'll reach out to you. And together as teams, we will beat this enemy. You take no prisoners. Before I wrap up this episode, folks, I know I got a little heated there, but I want to honor a veteran. He wrote a blank check in the defense of our great nation and paid the ultimate sacrifice in order for me to continue to do what I love. This veteran was the first casualty of war on the war of terrorism. He served his country as a Marine first and lastly as an agent for the Central Intelligence Agency. His service before self and sacrifice to our country is the strength of our nation. He is Mike Spann. Please take a moment to subscribe to this free podcast to help build our army of warriors and take back our lives from this deadly enemy known as PTSD. The more subscribers, downloads, reviews help fuel our machine and be a beacon for other warriors that are out there struggling in silence. Our next Intel briefing or episode, you'll meet a veteran who describes his transition from military life into civilian life and is using his passion for his brothers and sisters in a very fruitful way. And until next time, keep on the move. Operation Pathfinder is based on my views and experience with PTSD, but will be evidence-based as possible. I welcome any comments, suggestions, or corrections of errors. I take no money from drug, device, or medical companies. Always consult your own physician or therapist for any medical or mental health issues that you may be having. This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to the podcast. Under no circumstances shall Operation Pathfinder, any guest or contributors to the podcast, or any employees, associates, or affiliates of Operation Pathfinder be responsible for damages arising from the use of this podcast.